similar.
Thankful she doesn't want to.
Yes.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. We appreciate you being here for this regular meeting of the Goldendale City Council for December 2nd. We're going to do roll call, and the roll call will show that we don't have a quorum. We only have 3 city council members here. Shannon's on vacation. Mary Roberts is sick. Guy, of course, has already resigned, and Justin wasn't able to be here. So we can do our meeting, we just can't take any actions. And I think that'll still work out for us to get our reports done. The information that particularly has been provided by the county on the special new building that we want to be able to have that. We'll still have public comment, all those things will happen. And we'll begin with a roll call. I need a motion to excuse Jane Roberts, Shannon Middleton, and Justin Lee.
Can we do that? No? No.
Oh, we can't even do that? Okay, well, you know what the situation is then.
Sorry.
This is worse than Congress. Now, what about the public hearing?
The public hearing, you can go ahead and announce
Okay.
that if you'd like, and people can make comments. You just
Okay.
can't take any action.
We will open the meeting on the public hearing on the 2020 budget. If anyone is here for comments or questions, please come forward. If not, we will close that hearing and go on to the agenda. We don't have to have the agenda approved, do we? Boy, this was awful. See what a key person the mayor is?
We'll have to push the bills to either a special meeting or the next meeting.
Okay, we'll take care of all those things, but the real star of the evening is the presentation on the Clickahaw County update on the new services building. And both representatives of Clickahaw County, if you could begin in just a moment, we'd like to welcome Commissioner.
We're going to stand together because that's how we work in the county, is we work as a team, okay?
So I'm Gordy Kelsey, Public Works Director for the county, and been working on this project for a couple of years now. We started probably about 2.5 years ago when we started working on it. And then first, what got us going is we were looking at some improvements that needed to be made to one of the annexes, Annex 1, which houses our planning and building and health departments. And we looked at the cost just to make some basic improvements, re-roofing and adding some new windows and repointing the brick, and we looked at the cost of that, and it was a couple $1 million to make all those improvements, and we'd still have an old building that doesn't meet ADA requirements. There's no elevator to the second floor to help citizens get up the steps, and some other. It just was inefficient and doesn't function the way it should. So then we'd start looking at some of our other annexes, and they have similar problems. They're old buildings. We've acquired these buildings for the last, over the last 20 years or so, and they all have issues. So we looked at the aggregate total of maintenance, and it was about $3.5 million to have pretty much the same old buildings that don't really serve our current and future needs. So back in the early 90s, the county actually looked at a new building on the lot where the old Hall Hotel used to stand, and they purchased that property and were moving forward, did some studies on the same annexes we've looked at now, and made the same determination that they needed to go away and we needed to replace those with the new building. But at the time, the decision was made not to move forward with a new building. So basic items are the re-roofing, heating and cooling units, single pane windows. We have old electrical service and sub panels. There are some major things, safety items that need to be improved, as well as the ADA improvements I mentioned earlier. So 2017, we hired another consultant to come in and look at the feasibility of building a new building versus upgrading some of the other buildings, and to get all the other buildings and annexes up to code, basic safety code, and that would function better for the citizens of the county. It was about $6.8 to $7.5 million. But again, you'd still have these buildings that we've made work for a lot of years, but not really function for the current and future needs. So the decision was made to look at a new building, similar to what they did back in the early 90s. The cost for the new building, to get rid of all the other annexes and put everybody in a new building, was between $13.8 and $15 million. So after we looked at all the options, the board made the decision to move forward with designing a new facility that would work for us, and by the time you actually get done with all the collateral projects that go along with it, like street improvements and parking and the building itself, you're closer to $20 million, $21 million by the time we're done. So the old buildings have about 24,000 square feet. The new building will be about 28,000 or 38,000 square feet, I'm sorry. There's currently about 175 parking spaces down around the courthouse and the annexes. When we're done, there'll be about 318. So a net gain of about 143 spots, so quite a bit more parking. But the challenge is, in the interim, it's going to be painful because we're getting rid of most of the parking. We're redoing the on-street parking. We're redoing, if I look over here, I'll kind of point out some of these things. So Court Street, between Grant and Columbus, will be rebuilt.
Go over there and point it out, but your
Pointer's
your
fading.
pointer's not bright enough for me.
Okay, so Court Street will be rebuilt. The parking will be modified and the street will be redone. New stormwater improvements, curb gutter, sidewalk. The courthouse, the front parking on the courthouse, currently there's angle parking. We're gonna make head-in parking because that'll maximize and add more parking spaces in front of the courthouse. Let's see, then over west of the jail is here. Along Grant Street, we're gonna purchase these two pieces of property here. There's a house on one of those. The house will be raised and we'll expand that parking lot, and I think that adds about 50 spaces total. So there'll be 50 here. This is where the new building's going, where the old Hall Hotel was. And it was originally purchased for a new building back in the early 90s. That has, I think, 49 spots. So we'll replace that parking when we build this lot. And we've done some temporary parking here. I think we have close to 30 spaces along here now. So we've, come close to adding this. This is the bank parking lot, the Columbia Bank, and we're in the process of purchasing that parking lot right now. And we're maximizing that lot, and I think, I probably can't see without walking back here. It will have 32 spots and then 2 motorcycle spots. It was a small area that didn't really function for anything else, but we figured we'd use it for some motorcycle spots. So, like I said, we're gaining parking spots here. This is another lot where Annex 5 sits, which is a portable building. Currently, we brought that in, solid waste and economic development are housed in that. And so that one will be moved because it came in on wheels and it can go out the same way. Annex 3 is the old, some people know it as the old flower shop. That building will be demolished when we redo the parking and add parking there. Let's see, so that's basic improvements around the courthouse. When we're done, Annex 1 will come down and we'll have parking there as well, more parking. So that one will go away. This is probably the most costly to fix and remodel of one of our buildings, and it doesn't have an elevator for the second floor. So really, it's not really functional to meet code and to try and service customers that have disabilities. So that one's a challenge, but it will go away when the project is done, and we'll repave it and redo it as a nice parking lot. And then our last annex, which we are keeping, but we're also talking about, the commissioners are talking about the potential of a childcare in that facility when we're gone. So that is out there in the future, a couple of years. So that's kind of the basic setup and layout of the proposal. I gave you in your packets, and I also have displays here for the 3 different floors. There's lots of public meeting space. The commissioners are moving to the new building. On the first floor, and I'll try and point here, is a large public meeting. This is the biggest public meeting room, and it's about 20 by 40. We have glass doors along this front side separating the front lobby, so that those doors can open up, swing out of the way, and then basically you double your meeting space. So that whole lobby, if you look, back in the back there's a poster board that shows some renderings. It's actually, the consultant actually did a really good job of showing some perspective views. So that's that front lobby where Jim...
If we need that room, and Goldendale does, we are very cramped when we have a large community turnout for any function inside. But all of this furniture, we can move it to the side and open up that whole, I guess it's over on that one. But anyways, that was one thing that I really wanted. I knew that we were short of a large area for the public, and it will be open for public use, not just county government. So it'll be secured away from the rest of the offices, so that the community can hold their, community awards. We used to do that a long time ago.
Yeah, so one of the unique things about the construction of the building is, there's some energy code issues that you have to meet, and so we looked at, some of the more efficient systems to heat and cool the building, and it's funny, we go back to some old technology, which is the hydronic heating, which is hot water, you have radiators basically that heat the space, and so that's the most efficient system we can get and the longest lasting. If we bought packaged units that sit on the roof, we will replace those about 3 times before we will replace the hydronic units, so they last a long time. There's a display board just at the end of the floor plans that's not in your packet, and I don't want to zap anybody with my laser pointer, but it's called cross-laminated timber, and basically the whole building is glue lams, so the floors, some of the wall units, all the beams and posts, somebody manufactures all those parts off-site, and then they truck them here and it's assembled. And so what that does is, it's likely that this big of a project, it'll be an outside firm, so everybody has to come here and work. And so if we reduce that on-site construction time, we actually reduce the cost of the building itself. And so having all those parts manufactured somewhere else, trucked in here and assembled, the construction will go quicker. So the other thing about this is the energy code requires when you get over a certain number of square feet, you have to have some kind of alternative energy. And so the easiest one is solar panels. So I think we would have been required to almost do 2 kilowatts of power. And so when they first showed up, I'm like, what are these 4 little things on the roof, And they're like, well, that's the solar panels you were required to have. And I go, well, why don't we do something meaningful? What's it cost? And so we looked at the cost, and I think for about $19,000, because you have to have pretty much the same system. You're just adding more solar arrays to that. And so we added, I think, about 10 kilowatts to the system, and so it's something that's more meaningful. and will help offset the overall electric use for the building itself. Let's see, what else? Outdoor lighting, so I know that's an issue with the observatory, and so all the fixtures on the outside will be 100% cut off and dark sky compliant. So, and then we're looking at also with the 3000 K as a color temperature, so that's not part of the code, but it's something else that we can do to help out. So that'll be a part of it. So because there will be more outside lighting around the building, and then the parking areas will have to light up a bit too. So some basic lighting. So the timeline, when are we starting? Like Jim said, we started a while ago, and then the last year we've been in the design process pretty heavily. This will be the third public meeting that we've had to get people to introduce to the building and get comments and feedback. And so we're really close, within a couple of weeks of being ready to advertise the project for construction. So hopefully this mid-December, if all the parts come together, we'll advertise and then select a contractor from those who advertise. And then they'll have to procure those parts. That cross-laminated timber takes about 6 months to get the parts. So sometime in the spring, late spring, depending on how the window is, how we get in line with the manufacturers, the parts will be manufactured and arrive, and we'll start construction. And then we're hoping to be in the building to move everybody in the following summer. So 2021 is the target. And so we have to, right now we're in the process of creating space to move some of our office staff to different locations, because Annex 2 is underneath where part of the new building will be. So that will be the first annex to be demolished and removed from the site. So that's senior services for us. They will move, it's kind of a juggling act, but we're moving the WSU people, which are currently in Annex 1, out to the fairgrounds, so we're creating space out there for them. We'll move seniors. We don't want to move them too far from the courthouse, so they'll move into the WSU's space and for the duration of construction. Then once the building's complete in 2021, we'll move everybody into that building, except for juvenile, they're currently housed on the corner in that green space right there. So they are going to go into the commissioner's vacated space. Commissioners will vacate that space that they're currently in, we'll remodel that room, and then move juvenile. Then we can build that parking lot there. So that parking lot may not be finished until 2022. So 2021, we move everybody in, we remodel the commissioner's space, move juvenile, probably going to be about winter. And so we can't work on a parking lot in the winter, so 2022 will be when it's completed. So there's a lot of projects and pieces to this to get to the end. So cost, I kind of briefly mentioned. We have some contingencies built in. So the total cost with all those parking lots, the building, the remodels, and all those other things is about $21 million. And right now we're in the process of we're paying off some existing bonding.
We've got the first bonds that will retire are in the Dallasport water treatment plant down there. I think they had 2 years left, and if I were there, they have an interest component on them. The other entity that we have bonded is the Pioneer Center in White Salmon, and I believe in 3 to 5 years those bonds retire, but they had no interest cost to them, so we'll let them run out. The cost to the taxpayer, there'll be no extra cost to the citizens of Klickitat County. The way the stars have aligned for this project, it's kind of amazing. This I don't think ever happens that I know of. So We will fund this building and all the work that goes with it out of existing funds that the county has. And one of the things that I was really glad to see that we were finally going to be able, all of our permitting agencies are scattered down Main Street in different buildings. And when we get this project done, all of your permitting will take place in this new admin building. You'll just have to walk, ride the elevator, walk. You won't have to go up and down Main Street to get your permits, do whatever. And that historically, every time I've been to any kind of a meeting that's talked about efficiencies for the consumer and with county government, that's the first thing that that's brought up is combine your permitting departments to get them all under one roof. So we're going to get that done. And I think that that building is going to look really nice here in Goldendale.
It will.
Really nice. So, and we need an electrical update for where we're at now. We're maxed out on what we can do in those old buildings. And even in our existing courthouse, we're pushing right about technology's going to have to get it smaller if we're going to be able to, and maybe up in the cloud or something, because we're running out of room to run any more wiring in the old building.
Yeah, we're doing some upgrades, probably next year to the courthouse, electrical, because we are maxed out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm really excited about it. I can't wait to see that building sitting there on that street. And we'll still have our community days park for the community to participate in. It'll be 12 feet shorter in lengths when we go to the straight-in parking to increase the parking. But those crabapple trees are reaching their end of life. We had another one, the other one on the other corner this year. Half it fell over, but it didn't fall on Betty's car this time. So we lucked out there. Is there any questions for Gordy or I? Larry?
When was the original courthouse built, or the courthouse you're using now?
Before I was here.
46, 45, 46?
It's a registered historical building, which you want to weigh the pros and cons before you just do that.
Yeah.
Gordy can tell you what kind of headaches he's had trying to just put lighting on the outside of the building.
Yeah, you have to get that approved
Yeah.
through the Historic Commission at the state level. So everything you do to certain buildings, the exterior and the grounds, that view from Columbus is all now controlled.
I think you found one company
Yeah,
that was building the light fixtures that fit the, so we paid dearly for those lights.
yeah. Yeah, so this, one thing about this is, it's gonna be a big impact, and it'll, parking, like I said, I'm not gonna stress that too much because it will be a challenge, but it will get better. It will get a lot better when we're done. And so, we've been working really well, I think, with the city and Larry and his staff, and we will have to continue to do that. And so there'll be issues that come up that you'll have to let me know, and we'll do our best to take care of them. Some of them we will be able to, and some of them we'll have to work through as we go. So.
And Gordy's gonna try to do the best he can to have as many spots to park in that a full-size flatbed pickup can't pull into the darn thing and get out.
Yeah, that was challenging for the consultant to understand that we don't all drive Priuses here.
I have a question for you guys about, I think we all kind of are concerned with this. On Court Street, by this map here, it shows that it's been narrowed down quite a bit. Is there any way to move the parking a little bit to widen that? Because you got the fire department down the road there.
Yeah, I think we worked with Larry and the street supervisor to widen that out. So we've taken out, I think on the south side, there used to be a kind of a bulb out with planters and those are gone. So pretty much it's, on that side, the south side, that line of the curb and gutter will remain the same.
So is this picture a little bit different then, or than what it's gonna be then, or is this?
Yeah, so
Okay.
it's, and the same thing with the floor plans, they've been modified slightly, it's the closest that I have.
Okay,
And then the site plan is close, but since meeting with Larry and his staff, we've modified it. And I don't have a revised drawing of that yet.
okay.
But yeah, we've
And you said
widened
it
it
was
out.
gonna take in 12 feet of the lawn, is that correct?
Yeah, so to the east of that, the parking lot in front of the courthouse, that's been widened to the east
Okay.
about 12 feet to accommodate head-in parking.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I had the same concern, and I'm just assuming that the handicap will also be in the green there of Court Street, handicap parking? Is that where the handicap would be?
Let me, we've actually moved for the new building, the handicap parking. There's a lot just to the west of the new building. Yeah, on that site plan that Andy was looking at. That shows all that, pretty much most of those, all but 2 of those spots along that west side of the new building. Those are all ADA parking.
How tall is the building?
About as tall as the courthouse.
You know about how many feet that would be?
I'd hate to say, I know it's as tall as the courthouse, but I don't have that. I want to say about 49 feet or 48 feet, but I'll have to check for sure.
I think that's a concern over fire trucks. right?
Yeah, well, my concern was if it's gonna increase the insurance rating, because I don't think we have any fire trucks that would reach the 2nd or 3rd floor.
We don't have any ladders that'll reach that tall.
And last I looked, it was about $500,000 or more to buy for that.
How has the existing courthouse affected the
You'll be
insurance
adding-
rating?
You'll be adding a building, so it could, we can't get that answer without going through a survey, which we have a survey this year, but.
I don't know if it would make any difference, but it will be a lot more modern, fire-resistant building to meet the new codes than the existing courthouse when it was built in the 40s. So
There's a couple things that come
hopefully-
into play. One is, I believe they call it fire flow. I don't know how they calculate that. And how many stories you have, so it's a 3-story building. If you have so many 3-story buildings in your town, then it's required to have a ladder truck. And last time I knew, we were almost there on both of them. So there again, we'd have to look at that.
Yeah, I think you had a ladder truck at one time, didn't you?
Yep.
What would happen if you put sprinklers in the building? Would you-
It will have sprinklers.
It will have
Oh, yeah.
sprinklers.
Wouldn't that change the?
No,
I don't know.
It does a little bit. You gotta remember, sprinklers are only to put the fire at bay, I guess, if you will. So you still have a fire in there. The sprinkler systems aren't designed to put out a big fire. I mean, if you have the, hopefully it doesn't catch on fire, but that's not what they're designed for. So, it does help. It does help with your insurance rating. So you've got your sprinkler systems, your material that you're building with, That helps all with that. There again, we couldn't get a straight answer from the rating bureau on how that all works. You kind of have to tell them what you have and they go from
Whose
there.
insurance is affected?
That would be the homeowners around the city. So the insurance rating goes up for the city.
Everybody, anybody in the city limits, insurance rating will go up. So out in Centerville, you're like a 9 or a 10. No, you'd be a 9, excuse me. 10 would be you don't have any insurance. So we're at a 6, right on the line going into a 7. And that would raise the rates 10%. So that's, I believe it's everybody, right? Anybody with fire insurance?
It's just who's ever within the city, the rating is for everybody inside the city limits.
We should have time to
We'll have to-
both determine if there's an issue and where we find that fire truck. So that we have time because it's not built overnight, so let's just work into the
Yeah.
solution.
Which, other than that, I'm very happy that one of the driving forces here is being ADA compliant, because I have an interest in ADA compliance, and there's not many government buildings in the county that are compliant. So that is good that you mentioned that as a driving force.
Good, yeah. Yeah, we have a need. All of our old buildings were built before most of those regulations were in place, so.
I really admire and appreciate the steps you've taken to solve some of the tough problems that the whole community has had. That meeting room will be priceless. It will be very, very good. And the same with the daycare. That will help. Even if it's just county employees, that's a huge impact to daycare services in the whole city. And the nighttime light compliance, that's a very big thing for this new observatory. So
How
we've
many
taken the
years?
tough ones and got right after them.
Yeah,
How many years is the bond run?
It's a 20-year.
20-year bond?
Yeah.
Okay, okay, yeah. No, I think it's very nice, very good.
Sure is. Any other questions or comments?
Thank you.
Thank you both
Thank you.
very, very much.
thank you for your time. Thank you.
Very exciting. Next item on the agenda is the department reports, and we'll first hear from our fire chief, Noah Hall, and then from police chief, Reggie Bartkowski.
Okay, I'll kind of skim through my list here. So since the last council meeting, we've had 14 calls for service. And I'll kind of give you a rundown of the calls we had. So one of them being the old mill on 630 Railroad Avenue, I believe is the address. We were there for several hours fighting that fire. There was one room in the building that went into the structure itself. We did have one firefighter transported to KVH for exertion, working too hard, but he was released shortly after. So another one on Thanksgiving morning, 5:45-ish, I believe, Northeast King and Northeast 3rd and King Street. There was a RV motorhome on fire that spread into a box van. There was a makeshift kind of trailer park in there that we've had to mitigate some problems with. Everything was successful there. We had mutual aid structured fire on Munson Road with Rural 7. We had several vehicle accidents. Our firefighters respond, help with medical, help check for spills, help with traffic control, all that kind of stuff. One medical call. The EMTs responded, assisted with medics. We help with CPR, lift assist. So we have lost several members the last couple months, but we're still holding strong at 29. So we're doing good. We had a couple firefighters that were on DNR for the summer. They're back, so now we're feel a little better that they're back. And I just wanted to say that our response time is still about 5 to 7 minutes. So that's a really big accomplishment. So we're training right now. We've kind of lost all of our seasoned firefighters, I guess, if you will. A lot of newer firefighters are coming in, so we're really trying to focus on structure fires. We're kind of lax a little bit. A lot of training that needs to be done there, so we're really focusing on doing that. The EMTs are working on getting their credit hours. A lot of the 2-year cycle is up, so they have a lot of training. Do you know how many hours of training that is?
Not off the top of my head, I know.
The EMT's got to do a lot of
It's
training.
giving them a lot of headaches because it's national.
National research and Washington State, I believe. So, and then also I wanted to say January 5th at 9 a.m. at the Goldendale Fire Department, and we'll be passing this out to local businesses, but we're going to provide a fire extinguisher training course. We've got a training pan for fire extinguishers. It was donated through Legends Casino, and we will be using that and trying to train local businesses and stuff like that. And that's all I have.
I just got a few things for tonight. The first thing is it's that time of year again for high school basketball. So we do have our first basketball game this Friday night, and the Goldendale Police Department are going to be providing security for all of the home basketball games when we can. And I know we also get assistance from the Sheriff's Office also going to our basketball games, but our plan is to provide security at all of those. We are going to be doing some training this Wednesday. We're going to be giving each of our officers getting Narcan and also being fitted with face masks. Of course, this is for the fentanyl, being worried about fentanyl and the exposure that first responders get from that. And so we're really excited about getting each officer with 2 doses that they'll be carrying on their actual person at all times. We have a couple cases that we've had just in the last 2 weeks that I just wanted to point out. We had one on this last Sunday morning, yesterday morning. We had Sergeant Jay Hunziker responded to a 2-car motor vehicle collision that was on Pipeline Drive, just outside the city limits here of Goldendale. As he was sitting there investigating the collision, 2 cars came around the corner that weren't involved. They came around the corner. The first car was able to stop. The second car was not able to stop. Continued around and did another collision with the 2 cars that had already been in the accident. Sergeant Hunziker was actually in the path of that vehicle. He was able to jump out of the way, and as he was jumping out of the way, he slipped on the ice that was on Pipeline Road. Slipped and he fell and he was injured. He was taken by ambulance up to KVH where they did an initial assessment of him, and he was released about an hour or 2 after he went to KVH. He's doing good. He's at home right now, and he's going to be going and seeing his primary doctor, and I'll be able to give you an update after we know more from that. But I was able to talk to him today, and he's in great spirit and doing good. He's going to be at home off of his leg for a while. The second one is something that happened about a week and a half ago, and I'm just going to go ahead and read a quick release that I produced with all the facts in it. And I think it would be the most appropriate way for tonight for you guys to get everything. The Goldendale Police Department responded to the Goldendale School District on November 21st at about 9 a.m. in the morning on a threatening call. Officer Shelton and myself both responded. The school district went into a temporary lockdown. After the investigation, the police found that a parent had written on Facebook Messenger a potential threatening comment. The comment was, and this is in quotes, "So my guns are cocked and loaded for tomorrow. Do you suggest I do something different?" End quote. Right after that quote, there was another quote that stated, "I am kidding y'all," end quote. The police contacted Officer Sheldon and myself, contacted that parent and did a full investigative interview. The Coconut County Sheriff's Office also assisted. The police department got cooperation from that parent, and it was explained to us that it was a joke and it never should have been said. The police department found no intent that this threat was going to be carried out. The police department did take 2 firearms into safekeeping that were voluntarily given by the parent to the police department, which we still currently have. After contact was made by us to that parent, the school lifted the lockdown. The police department will be forwarding this case to our prosecuting attorney's office for review, but no charges have been submitted at this time. I just want to make sure that everybody knows that anytime that there's any type of a threat to our school, we take it extremely serious, and we do a full investigation of those. We work in very good cooperation with the school district, and I think it was totally appropriate for them to go into a lockdown until we were able to go assess the situation and be able to relay the information that we were getting back to them. But I know this has been on some social media sites, some people have been talking about it, so I want to make sure I addressed it tonight and let you know that we took it extremely serious. Social media and the things that you say, this was in a messenger with just certain people in it. It wasn't broadcasted out like on a Facebook. It was more in the messenger part of it. But you really need to be careful with the words that you say. People can take things out of context. But anytime you hear something, we want people to notify the police department. Anytime you think there could be any type of a threat to our school, please, we want you to call the police department and advise us, and we will do a threat assessment on all of those. So the last thing I have today, Mayor, is we are doing some traffic. We're concentrating really on 2 areas in town that we've been receiving some complaints. One is on Washington Street. So we're going to be doing a lot of using our radars and our patrol cars in that area. And also is in East Collins, about the 300 block of East Collins going in front of the middle school. Is another area that we've been receiving complaints about speeding cars. So we're going to be very active in enforcing that in the next couple weeks for sure. And with that, that's all I have for tonight.
Thank you very much, Chief. Thank you. I think it's a good notice for everybody to watch. Casual conversation can get you in a world of trouble
We need to be careful.
very, very quickly. It's think before we speak. Seems to work the best. Now, we won't address the ordinance for the first reading of the 2020 budget. We will go now to the report of officers and city administrator, and Larry Bellamy will give our city report.
Okay, I'm just looking forward a little bit and want to touch on a couple of upcoming events that are going on. At the last council meeting, of course, we heard the guy had resigned from his position as a city council person, and we have advertised that out in the Goldendale Sentinel for last Wednesday and this Wednesday. The date of closing for those letters of intent is on next Monday at 5 p.m. To date, we've received 1 letter of interest, and so hopefully we'll get a few more and we can have some opportunity to hear what people are thinking about for the city and how they can contribute to the council and to the community. So that is set in place and advertised for the 5 o'clock on the 9th of December. We also had some need to add to the tourism applications that we had received. And so we felt like the best way to deal with that was to extend the time within which to receive applications. So everybody who has already submitted their application, theirs are good. We will consider those, but there were some key applications that we were hoping to receive that we did not receive, or they were late, and so we decided to extend the time frame for receiving those applications to also on the 9th of December as well. So we've talked with some folks who we think are going to come through, and we hope that will be the case, and we'll see what happens when we get around to next week on Monday, the 9th of December.
What were those items that we?
The two items were the entertainment in the beer garden for the community days
Show and
and the show and shine for the community days. So both of those applications were not received in the original deadline timeframe. And so we felt like we wanted to try to meet with them and see what their issues were and try to resolve anything that we could so that we could have those events, because that's an important key part of that community days. And if it's not gonna be that way, then if they're not going to fill out an application, then we need to make sure we have something to fill that spot. So that's where we are on that. Then coming up on the following Monday, which is the 16th of December, we have a presentation similar to what you had tonight, but this one is going to be from our consultant who's been assisting us at the airport committee level. We've been meeting as an airport committee for a number of months over the last year or so, and then it's been bolstered by the fact that we received a capital budget award from the state of Washington for $550,000. And so he's going to be here to present the recommendation from the airport committee to the council, and so he'll have some show and tell items that he can share with the full council, and we can get the nod, hopefully, to move forward and have the project start with the planning and the environmental work and get a plan and get that fuel system installed and get moving on that project. So the consultant will be here on the 16th, and on the next day, on the 17th, we're going to meet with the Clicktack County Planning and Public Works and Building at a pre-submission meeting, and we're going to try to get things moving forward ahead of the game. We're going to send in the documents that the pre-submission group wants and start with our environmental checklist and get some things early on so we can get moving on this, because we have to get that environmental started as quickly as we can. Okay, and then of course we'll deal with the budget at the next council meeting as well. Okay?
Thank you, Larry. Thank you. Our city council will begin with Andy.
Question for Noah, the canned food drive, when's the date of that? I didn't hear you mention it, so.
I didn't, when's the Candy Lane Parade?
So,
Is it next?
14th.
Yeah.
It's the 14th,
Okay.
so it's the 15th.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure everyone knows about that. And then, I know I saw on Facebook, and I know I've talked to you about it, about people going to fire calls and getting in the way. And I heard, when I corrected on the mill fire, there was a lot of people in the way. Is that correct? Or?
That's what was reported to me through dispatch. I didn't see it because I was back behind the building, but yeah, it's a pretty big problem.
Okay, so maybe just a reminder to everyone to stay away from fire calls and even medical and
Any kind of emergency.
any kind of emergency.
That's all I have.
thanks, Andy.
I think with that, to echo Andy, just a reminder that the entire county is volunteer firefighters. So when there's an increase of traffic, the firefighters are trying to get to the fire hall. So just because you don't see the fire trucks coming doesn't mean some of those firefighters are trying to get there.
Exactly.
So if you increase traffic, all of a sudden it causes a lot of dangerous situations. But, I have a couple of notes. Reggie, on the threatening to the school, correct me if I'm wrong, I understand that the basis conversation that was going on that side was about the education system in Goldendale and the special education department
Yes,
and the lack of services, correct?
yes, I believe the mother was upset and was trying to deal with the school and was frustrated with some of the services that she was getting from the school. And I think that's where it started from.
With that, it was unfortunate that That took the attention of what the parents were trying to have a conversation about. I know personally of several people that have moved out of the county, completely out of the state because of the special education services or lack of that is at the Goldendale School District. One of them being a county employee that I thought was pretty good, that we had him here. He was very knowledgeable. But as a result of the lack in services, I don't know how much of it we can do as a city, but I think as a community we need to be aware that the lack in services, and I know that's a whole different board over there, but I know I'm dealing with some of those issues as well. So I just wanted to bring that back up, that even though the actions of one parent took away the attention of what was really being discussed, that was the original problem was that. I think that's all I have for that. Yeah.
Thanks, Phil.
Yeah, I'm over the board.
Milo?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Well, I'm leaving for Olympia tomorrow, and I have a meeting with, tomorrow, a couple of meetings at the governor's office, and then talk about the pump storage and data center, get an update on that. And also, then the next day, I'm going to be meeting with the director of the curb board, Janae, and talk about the Goldendale Airport and see what we have to do to get a grant and small loans. And in other words, just get more details of what we would have to do someday. And also, then I'll just kind of give a brief of a broadband. This is really big detail that we got here, and I'll tell you it's done then, I guess, the study's done?
Yes.
Okay, I'll just tell her that the study's done, and I may show it to her, I don't expect her to read it all, but then at least I'll show it to her that we got the study done. 'Cause
Actually, I'm preparing the final request for reimbursement and we'll be submitting that final report to her in probably this week.
Okay, well, I missed that then, yeah, good. So I guess I'll have her.
Great, thanks, Milo. Only thing I have on the mayor's side is both it looks like most everybody, if not everybody, had a good Thanksgiving and a safe turkey and all the trimming, so that was a nice event for people in our community. But we hear more and more of issues about speeding in town. Bad enough speeding on 97, but when it comes into Goldendale, it's even worse for any of our pedestrians, elderly, regular adults, or children. And we need to always be conscious of where we are and what's around us. We're trying to address better lighting for the crosswalks, because our lights are adjustable, so we can make those strips much brighter so that people show up at night. A lot of people in the wintertime, I think it's natural for winter clothes to be dark or black. And that is a dangerous thing when you have people walking around in black clothes on poorly lit streets. And we have excellent streets, but at the same time, it's very hard to see people dressed in black. And on side streets or out on the state highway, you have to be on your toes to not have a serious accident that wouldn't have been your fault, but at the same time could have taken a life. So we really need to worry about that and watch out for our children, those in wheelchairs and carts, as well as walking, any age. I'm kind of fond of the old age, but still, we all have to be on our toes to not get in the way of a vehicle, and for the vehicle to watch out for us, because we have the right of way in most instances. So that's the things that I have. We'll have public comment now. Anyone here for public comment? If you can, I don't see any heads nodding if they're here for a public comment. So we will close City Council for this night, December 2nd.